What's poppin' YouTube? It's your girl Kaya K, the CEO Queen, and today we're going to be watching a video titled Stop Letting Your Anxiety Control Your Life by Big Think. I'm really excited to see what this video is about to be about because one thing that I know for sure a lot of people struggle with is anxiety. Anxiety is one of the top mental health issues that run rampant through a lot of people. So, with the advice of how to make it work for you and how to stop making yourself feel bad, stop shaming yourself, but to work in conjunction with who you are as a person. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, please, you guys. Leave a comment down below if you find anything that is interesting. Let me know what it is. Also, you can find me on Instagram at upflykai. That's where I'm gonna be at. That's where I reside. And let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Jesse Eisenberg. I'm known as an actor. I also write and direct. And I forgot the other thing that I was supposed to say because I was, sorry. I'm going to get better by this in the next answer. What is the thing that was supposed to be like? I have, an anxiety that's a performance anxiety. I have, what you might call stage fright. I think my therapist calls it something a little more medical. But I have those feelings quite deeply.
No, I swear it be like that. I swear, like sometimes I'll be making a video and it's like you can't even get it off. Like you can't even get to that point where you feel comfortable in what you're saying. So you start stumbling over your words, you start feeling like this tightness in your chest, and then you start overthinking your words and the actions and the reactions of other people. Like that is so real. That is so real.
Every other year or so, I would write a play and perform a play that I had written, and I would perform the show 150 times. That's when you do a run of a play, that's how many performances you do, which might sound just crazy to an outsider that you do that same play 150 times. But as the performer in it, every one of those 150 times feels so different. And so I would notice that as the play went on, the run of the play went on, when we would get to performance 100 out of, let's say, 150, it would just get worse and worse and worse. Now, it's totally counterintuitive because you would assume that if you've done 100 performances and they've all gone well, why would the 101st go bad? But the way my mind works, which is just out of anxiety, and catastrophization, is that I assume that because the 101st performances went well, the 101st is definitely not going to go well. That, you can't.
Hold on. This man, you can tell that he's so serious about him having anxiety. He's so serious because you can see his hands like shaking. Either he's a fantastic actor and he should be on somebody's payroll, or he truly has anxiety, and you can definitely tell.
Can't land on red 100 times without hitting black. And so that's how I think. So I would be most anxious by the 150th performance, that I cannot believe we've done 149 shows and they've all gone so well. Tonight's the night where I'm not only going to screw it up, but I'm going to turn to the audience and say the most embarrassing thing that I would never even tell my best friend. Okay, so this is kind of how I think. I think a lot of people can relate to that in other industries because, we all have this feeling that, if something's going right, if you're a person who worries, the next thing's going to go wrong. And it's so strange because when I'm having these kind of like anxiety, kind of panic attacks before the performances, my colleagues who have been like uniformly amazing colleagues, especially dealing with somebody who is like kind of emotional like I am, they're kind of like laughing at me, which is nice because it shows that, what I'm feeling is not to be, fretted over. And they just know that that's how I am. And then oftentimes, I'll ask them the same question that I asked them the night before. Do you think it's going to go well tonight? Do you think it's going to go well tonight? I remember my one friend, Michael Zegan, the actor, is this great actor. We would be backstage every night.
Before he continues with that, it's really important to have good people around you. It's so important to have good people around you that are not just there for the show, but are there for you as a person because they care about you, they support you, they like you, and that they can also get your emotional standpoint, they get your mental standpoint, they're able, like, because what I see a lot of people complaining about, and something that I also complain about in my journey of creating community is I can easily put myself in other people's shoes. Empathy is something that I don't struggle with. If anything, I struggle to want to get rid of it. Um, I can literally feel for this person, like, and for some reason, I have this intuition where, especially if I've been around this person for a significant amount of time, I can gauge how they think, how they move. People become pretty predictable to me, and I know what they need. And I know how they need to be understood. I know how they need to be related to in order to feel better, in order to feel heard, to feel seen, to be able to work through things. It's just a gift that I have. So to be able to, on the flip side, receive that reciprocity where you have people around you that are invested in knowing you, invested in adapting their perception to you, it makes things so much easier when you're struggling with any kind of mental illness or anxiety, anything like that. So, yeah.
And he would just be so sweet. He would just say, yeah, it's going to be, I told you that yesterday. And I said, but do you think tonight's going to go well too? He's like, yeah, I told you that 2 nights ago too. He said, and so I'm kind of surrounded by sweet people. You know, in my industry, I'm sure like a lot of industries, but in particular, you know, kind of the arts, it attracts oftentimes empathetic people. And so it's good for my, you know, personality to be around that, or maybe it enables my personality to get worse. But if somebody were to come to me and said, you know, I'm panicking, and I said, why? And they said, I did 149 shows, and I know the 150th is going to be the worst one. You know, of course, I would say, how could you possibly think that? You have to look at those 149 as evidence, foolproof evidence that the 150th is going to be exactly the same. For something bad to go wrong, it would have to be such an unbelievable fluke, because it would have gone wrong before. And it probably would have gone wrong in the beginning, those first.
Yeah, we're our worst enemy when it comes to getting things done that we know we can do. When it comes to believing in our consistency to be successful, when it comes to starting something and being motivated, we're our biggest critic. We're the person that prevents us from achieving the most in this world. We think it's the lack of resources, the lack of a support system, but it's really us. That inner critic is so loud and so prevalent in so many of our lives that we keep ourselves stagnant.
10 performances. And so it's funny, I am able to both see outside myself and see that kind of what is worrying or rankling me is probably not healthy or totally rational. But when it feels that way, it's hard to not believe it, because, you know, feelings are oftentimes so much more powerful than rational thoughts can be.
Normalize your panic, okay?
I've been on movie sets before where I had what I would call like legitimate panic attacks, like where your body kind of, you know, sometimes it races and you know, kind of feeling like your breath is you know, racing, your heart's racing, and you feel like you're hyperventilating. But I've also had these other kind of weird panic attacks where your body just kind of shuts down. And in scenes where I was supposed to be, you know, kind of open, I felt closed, and that was like its own kind of very scary panic attack. And I was doing a movie called Adventureland where I had a scene, it was kind of a simple scene, but I was like saying goodbye to my parents because I was moving to New York City.
I have a paycheck waiting for me.
And my body just shut down. I just had a panic attack. And I asked if we can stop filming, and I went over to the director and I just said, I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. I just froze.
You know something also, kudos, right? Kudos to this dude for having such a disability. Like, anxiety can be crippling, as he's talking about right now, but he's putting himself in the most seen profession, an actor. Like, great job to him. And the fact, and I'm pretty sure that this is a release or something that he uses in order to help stabilize his disability, or the personality that, you know, he calls it a personality. it's beautiful. It's really beautiful because a lot of times we believe because we have this issue that we have to stray away from things that would exploit this issue. But sometimes exploitation provides an arena for battle. And that battle is what you need to then conquer whatever that issue is. So I was working at Walgreens one day, and this guy came up offering me a job, saying, "I'm pretty sure they'll pay you better than here." Da 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 da. So I had an interview with him, and one of the key things, I was in school at the time, so it wasn't something I was able to like hop on right then and there. Couldn't work full time. It kind of impeded with my school schedule. But one of the things he told me was he struggled severely with stage fright, with anxiety, with being seen. And what really helped him was going to Toastmasters. Toastmasters is basically like a speech therapy class. Not even therapy, it's therapeutic, but it forces you on a podium in front of people talking about a prepared topic, or in some instances, it was unprepared. They just throw out some questions and it's like, hey, talk about this for 2 minutes. Here's the topic. Go home, research, prepare, and come up here and talk about it for 5 minutes. And for people that, and most of the people there struggled with speaking in front of people, public speaking. And so we just see once again that it's very important to put yourself in those positions where you are uncomfortable. So you can be comfortable with uncomfortability. And when you are comfortable with uncomfortability, I've seen that it's evident that you will overcome it. And there's so much more that follows after that. That's when you build so much skill. It's just like going to the gym. You go to the gym to build up your muscle, and then you're able to take on more weight. You're able to do more stretches. I found myself recently, dog, like my hips used to always be a point of tension where it just felt so tight, so wound up. I would do yoga, I would stretch, but it wasn't until I went to the gym and I was doing some of those workouts on that leg press, pushing 250. Like, it wasn't until I was consistently pushing myself past the point where I thought that I was good at that I started to feel better. And now my hips, I be forgetting my hips are there. Like, I be forgetting, I be walking so smooth. I don't need to stretch all the time throughout the day. I don't feel like I need to pop my hip as often. It feels good because I started to be comfortable with uncomfortability.
And it was this very sweet, wonderful director, Greg Mottola, who every actor who works with him wants to work with him again. He's just this lovely, sensitive person. And he took me aside. He said, "Oh, take a break, everybody, for 5 minutes." He took me aside and he said, "I just want to let you know that not only do I understand what you're experiencing right now, but I'd be so surprised if you didn't experience it all the time. You're doing a job that's kind of emotional, that is demanding, and yet you're also worrying if your hair looks like not dumb." And so like, I couldn't understand how anybody would do the job you do. I certainly would never be able to. And I just had this like, incredibly cathartic experience hearing that advice. And I went back and did the scene, and it was great. The scene was, great because the kind of weight off my shoulders was removed, because the expectations I had for myself of being like, perfect in every moment were just taken away. I just said, oh yeah, this job that I do does have difficult aspects to it. And I shouldn't try to kind of, let's say, ignore those things. I should try to just understand that they're there. They're probably always going to be there. And let me just try to embrace them. And, that applies to any profession, because, all professions have unusual quirks, unusual difficulties that, you probably think are pretty difficult to explain to somebody not in that field. But what I found is what I felt that day on that set was very normal, very common. My cousin is a sports journalist, and he panics the day before a deadline writing about football. Again, it's something that I think is totally unrelated to my, experience as an actor in a movie, and yet we commiserate about that same fear.
All right. So I wanted to wait till you finish talking. This really made me think about, so I used to work for the Kirby Company. Some of y'all may know, it's door-to-door sales, selling a home cleaning system. It looks like a vacuum cleaner, but it does so much more. We go into a home to demonstrate the product, which is also cleaning, areas of their house. But at the end of it, we expect a sale. So when I first got into this, I was super motivated. I was like, this is something I've never done before, but I'm getting the tools, I'm getting information, I'm getting the support. I can do this. I get into, I want to say it was my first house, but it may have been one of my first houses the first day I got out in the field. And I felt like I did amazing. I went in there, I was confident. I vacuumed, I showed him, I remembered all the information that we talked about that day. I really showed up. It was like a family thing, like everybody was around. They gave me some food, like they gave me some water, like we was chilling, just talking regularly as well. And I was thinking that this was gonna end in my first sale. And when it didn't, I was so disappointed. I was so devastated because when you put yourself into something, it becomes who you are. And that's even truer for me because I personalize things. And so when I put in that work and I didn't get the result that I wanted to get, it was as if I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Now we're talking about catastrophizing things. I thought that I was like, I'm too far into this. Like, what am I doing? So I called in my boss because, he was also riding around, picking people up, dropping people off. He had the Kirby's in the back of the truck. It's a whole company thing. So I call him and I say, I'm finished with the house. And he can just hear it in my voice that I was not in the zone. Like, I was not the me that he knew. And so he comes and he picks me up. He sits in the car and he reminds me, like, not every house is going to be the house. Not every moment is going to be the opportunity. However, what really matters is that you do not deflate yourself because of an external situation. And, he gave me, like he said, 5 minutes. I just sat there, chilled. He got a call for another house and he asked me, he was like, you want it? I said, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. That house made my first sale. And then from there, it was just on and popping. I became, that's one of my awards from it. The top new dealer. I started in July. I got top new dealer for the entire region for June, July, August. I also have different awards down here that I want to put up on the wall just to remind myself, like, you are that one. Like, you are that person. Whatever you think that you can do, you have done it and you can do it. So having people around you that allow for your mistakes to be okay is also very, very important in my own experience.
I do find that when I'm around people who kind of have similar emotional experiences that I do, which is to say kind of self-doubt, panic about future things, catastrophizing otherwise benign experiences, I love being in the position of giving advice, of helping somebody, of calming them down, because it feels wonderful to help somebody. And then for the selfish reason of you seeing that actually their fears are oftentimes your fear. Giving that advice can also, help you be able to receive it the next time. When I was on the set of my own movie as a director, I was not acting in my first movie. Finn Wolfhard was the main character, and he's just the loveliest, most talented young man. He's a rock star. He's a famous movie star. And so you think, wow, this kid must be so comfortable, must be so cool. And yet, like everybody I meet who's very good at their thing, he was panicked the whole time. He was worried the whole time that he wanted to be good. And I saw it was like the second day, he had like a monologue, the second day of the shoot. And I asked him how he was in the morning, and he said, actually, I had a really tough night. I was kind of panicking about the scene today. And I was so happy to be able to impart this wonderful advice I got so many years ago as an actor. I took him aside and I said the thing I've always wanted to tell another actor, which is like, listen, I understand what you do. I understand it can be very difficult. I understand you're putting yourself out there emotionally while also trying to remember, 3 pages of dialogue, while also worrying that the makeup that you're wearing today maybe makes you look, vain or, more attractive than the character should look, and that you're worried that the audience is going to think maybe you're, vain person. You're trying to be natural and emotional that whole time. And you know what? That's very difficult. And I just want to tell you, Finn, I just want to tell you what I heard from a wonderful other director, that all of that's normal. The fact that you don't feel that every second is probably a miracle. And when you do feel it, use it. Have it be part of the scene. Have that anxiety come through in the character. Don't deny that anxiety. Have it come through, and you'll never worry about anything. Because his character in that scene was really anxious to talk to this young person at this club that they were at, and he was feeling very nervous. And I said, that feeling, you shouldn't deny it. Just feel that feeling. And so once you stop kind of like denying the kind of feelings that you're having and try to maybe redirect them to a healthy outcome, you don't worry as much. I'll just say also, I go to an acting coach. So when I have a new role, I'll go to the acting coach and we'll do some esoteric, some practical work together, dream exercises, but also kind of practical stuff about, how to think, what to think on set in between takes. And, I had stage fright for a long time, and she gave me the best advice. She just said to me, when you're experiencing that anxiety on set, that's the character experiencing anxiety, so use it. And what it taught me in kind of like a macro way was to kind of like not be fearful that I'm going to have a bad feeling. In fact,
yeah, something that he brought up was really good. He was talking about esoteric training. He mentioned about dream state, and sometimes we have to do things that we don't know about. Sometimes we have to get that research, we have to get that knowledge, and that's really what this channel is about. And that's also what I've been doing behind the scenes, is building up my reservoir of information, of knowledge, of skill, broadening the horizons. For a long time, there's so many things that were considered devilish or demonic, or just things that you should not get into. And now that I'm on the other side of that, I realize that a lot of those skills, a lot of those methods really are beneficial. If you don't get out of your own shell, you'll miss it. You'll miss it.
To kind of like not be fearful that I'm going to have a bad feeling. In fact, have that bad feeling remind me that I am motivated to be feeling things on stage. And so when I have a bad feeling on stage of panic, of worry, I now use it as a motivator. Sometimes I think this is the character having that panic attack. And you know what? The character might have a panic. Even if he's having a confident scene here, most characters are dealing with other things. And I think
that's good. That's also what I want to comment on. The character is a person, right? The character has personality. It has a persona. It has history, background, motive, intention. So you have to treat that person as if it's a person. And like he said, if he gets anxious, that character is feeling anxious because he is embodying that character. That's really good.
This would also apply to other industries, because oftentimes that panic attack could really just mean that you really care about what you're doing. And instead of worrying that I might have a panic attack during this presentation or this meeting, you could think, if I have a panic attack during this meeting, it's because I really care about it. I'm going to take a second, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to remind myself that this anxiety comes from a place of really, investing in what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
To watch the full class, become a member at...
No, yeah, that is so good. That's so true. When you feel something, and I haven't seen this more than in a relationship. Relationships teach you a lot. It shows you when you care about something, you're going to feel it. It's going to be seen, it's going to be shown, it's going to be felt. And like they say, when I stop tripping out on you, when I stop asking you where you at and being on your ass, that's when you need to get worried. Because therefore, at that point, everything is cut off. I don't care about getting my stuff back. I don't care about reconciling anything. I don't care about... I just want to be separate. And that's the dangerous place to be at. Because when you lack emotion, you lack connection. And that's why people, when we talk about sociopaths, narcissists, and things like that, they lack that empathy. They lack that ability to connect with people. So that video was so good, y'all. Let me know in the comment section below one thing that you took away from this. I gave y'all a few things that, I'm storing in my I'm storing up in my head, but let me know what's something that you got from this video. All right, until later. Peace.